Hi, this is Michael Forster, inventor of Ante Up 21. Ante Up 21 combines two of the hottest games in the casino, blackjack and poker. Whether you're a blackjack or poker player, Ante Up 21 is an easy and fun game to play. Ante Up 21 is based on the pure and simple game of blackjack, yet with an interesting twist. It creates more betting options as your completed blackjack hand goes head-to-head with the dealer in a best two-card poker showdown. It combines the simple strategy of blackjack with a goal of forming a good high-card poker hand or pair to compete against the dealer. The dealer must qualify with a queen high or better, and suits and straights don't play. Most of the standard blackjack rules remain intact, like doubling down and splitting, so it becomes an easy challenge in backing up your bet after you ante up in the beginning of the game. It's very simple and makes blackjack fun again. Let's get started. Players first put up two bets. A bet in the 21 spot for the blackjack hand, and a bet in the ante spot for the poker hand. Players may play only blackjack if desired, but players must play both spots in order to play the poker hand. The ante bet may not exceed the blackjack bet, but the blackjack bet may be greater than the ante bet. And all bets are paid in even money. Each player is dealt two cards. The dealer is also dealt two cards, with one facing up. This is where the dealer asks the players to bet or fold their poker hand. If the player chooses to play poker, a second wager is placed in the bet spot. The bet must be the same amount as the ante. If the player chooses not to play the poker hand, they would then forfeit their ante bet. After all players have decided to bet or fold their poker hand, the dealer goes on to play blackjack. Player 1 has a 20 with a Jack 10 for his poker hand. He decides to stand. Player 2 has a 17 with a Queen 7 for his poker hand. He decides to stand as well. Player 3 has an 11. He decides to double down. He receives an 8 for a total of 19, and his poker hand now becomes a pair of 8s. After all players' hands are complete, the dealer proceeds to play out his hand. Dealer's whole card is a 2 for a total of 7. The dealer hits and receives a queen for a total of 17, giving him a Queen 5 poker hand, which qualifies. After all hands are complete, including the dealer then goes on to compare his hand to the player's. Player 3 has a 19 for his blackjack hand, which beats the dealer's 17, and he has a pair of 8s for his poker hand, which beats the dealer's Queen 5. Player 3 wins on all bets. Player 2 receives a push on his 17, but his Queen 7 beats the dealer's Queen 5. He receives a win on both his poker bets. Player 1 wins his blackjack hand with a 20, but the dealer's Queen 5 beats his Jack 10, so he loses both his poker bets. Now that I've shown you the basics of Ante Up 21, let's look at how some other hands might play out. Players once again place their blackjack and ante bets, and the cards are dealt. The dealer once again asks the players to bet or fold their poker hands. Player 1 receives a natural blackjack, and he gets paid 3-2 in his blackjack bet, and his poker hand is Ace-Jack. Player 2 has a pair of 8s and decides to split his hand. He receives a 10 for an 18 on his first hand and decides to stand. He then receives a king on his second hand for another 18 and stands as well. On split hands when playing the poker portion of the game, the player may only use his first two cards dealt as his final poker hand, so player 2's poker hand remains a pair of 8s. Player 3 has a 12. He decides to hit and gets a 2. Hits again and gets a 9 for a total of 24 and busts. He loses his blackjack bet, but now he has a pair of 2s for his poker hand. Busted hands will still be in play if the player made the poker bet. Let's see what the dealer has. Dealer has a 7 showing, rolls over his whole card, which is a 10, for a total of 17, with his poker hand being a 10-7, which is a non-qualifying poker hand. The dealer must qualify with a queen high or better. If the dealer does not qualify, the player will win even money on the ante and a push on the bet. Now that the hands are done, let's see how everyone did. Player 3 had already busted his blackjack hand, and he receives a win on his ante and a push on his bet. Player 2 split his 8s, and he wins on both his 18s, and he also wins on his ante, and he pushes on his bet. Player 1 was already paid on his natural blackjack, and he also wins his ante, and he pushes on his bet. Let me show you one last hand. Players place their bets, and the cards are dealt. When the dealer's up card has a value of 10, the player still has the option to either bet or fold their poker hand before the dealer checks his hand for natural blackjack. When the dealer's up card is an ace, the player will be given the option to bet or fold their poker hand and be given the option to take insurance before he checks his hand for natural blackjack. Player 1 and 2 make their bets. Player 3 with a 19 and a queen 9 decides to fold to the dealer's king and forfeits his ante. The dealer then checks his hold card for natural blackjack. When the dealer has a natural blackjack, he automatically qualifies, and all players who did not fold their poker bet will receive a push on their bet and either win, lose, or tie on their ante. Player 3's 19 loses to the dealer's 21, and he already folded his ante. Player 2's 14 loses to the dealer's 21, but his pair of 7s beat the dealer's ace-king. Player 2 wins his ante and pushes his bet. Player 1's 19 loses to the dealer's 21, and his king 9 loses to the dealer's ace-king. He'll lose his ante, but he'll push his bet. As you can see, Ante Up 21 is such an easy game to play. It's fun, it's exciting, it's fast-paced, and it just takes a few minutes to learn. The reason I invented Ante Up 21 is because I've been an avid blackjack player for years, but I also love the excitement of poker. I've always had to decide which game to play, but now with Ante Up 21 it's really the best of both worlds because you're playing two games in one. I hope you've enjoyed learning more about Ante Up 21 and have hours of fun and excitement playing the game. Please check out our website for updates and exactly where Ante Up 21 can be played. Now let's all ante up, and I'll see you at the tables.